Hi everybody and welcome. This is David Lees with my review of Transformers comic book number 3. I apologise, this is slightly later than usual. For some reason there was a delay in my receiving issue 3. I thought it would be fortnightly, every 2 weeks. It wasn't, and it was released on April 17th. I was away on holiday that week, and so I've been able to pick the comic book up just this week, and I can share my thoughts on issue 3. I've mentioned before that the Transformers comic seems to be very slow and cerebral, and there's not a lot of change going on here either, I have to say. We start off, I'll mention the cover, Orion here, either opening some doors or closing them, or possibly trying to push them apart like Samson. So we'll come to this later. It does actually feature in the storyline a little further on. There's the recap, interesting parts of the recap. The reminder that Bumblebee can be wrong. This is seen from Rubble's perspective. So featuring Bumblebee saying this is madness, Chromia agreeing with him, Prowl observing the death of Brainstorm. So it's still going back to this incident that's really starting to fracture the whole Cybertronian society. So you've got Bumblebee there, who has the ability to be wrong, Prowl, who remains a pedant as always, Megatron, who was giving his speech last time, you may recall, and when there was a bomb that went off, an explosion at the rally he was hosting, where he was speaking. I mentioned last time, I'm not entirely convinced that was actually someone trying to assassinate Megatron. I still have suspicions that he actually planted the bomb himself. I know what Megatron's like, and I wouldn't put it past him. We have Wheeljack and his wide-eyed, dreamy scientist kind of character coming out about a race of beings with a vision to reshape a moon into the greatest energy harvester in the universe. I still reckon that moon has a bullseye target on it. I don't see it lasting very much longer. And then Megatron and his political manoeuvrings, as we've seen. Not much change in the cast, considering that this is a huge society with a planet full of robots. We're not really seeing that many of them. More on that later. Here we go then, Megatron continuing his speech and saying, he's concerned about security generally. I reckon it's a put-up job. I reckon he's involved. He's pulling strings behind the scenes in order to get his political agenda furthered. To which Brainstorm is dead. I and the entire Decepticon movement have been assaulted by cowards. There's a fatigue of fraying in at times, my fellow Cybertronians. The Autobots aren't up to the job, and therefore I am now going to present to you the volunteers of the new Decepticon Guard. Elita 1, formerly known as Orion Pax's girlfriend, for those who have a long memory. Then we have also Skytread, who looks to all intents and purposes like the Duocon flywheels to me. Then we have Refractor, and also Quake. Quake, a name from G1, and one that's immediately picked up on by the Autobots who are watching this broadcast. Again, has Megatron gone mad? Question from Chromia. Again, madness. Madness has never been his problem, Chromia. So we're seeing this repetition of madness coming through. You really have to work a lot harder with these comic books than we had to previously. So Prime takes his security detail for a walk, and they look at the options that they have available to them. They're fairly sure that the Rise are involved in Brainstorm's murder. There's a lot of work going on by the Decepticons to keep it secret, to keep it quiet, and it's definitely madness, as Prime's saying to Prowl and the rest of the team. A lot of unpacking around Quake, and this new character who comes in called Freud, F-R-O-I-D, who's a therapist, not to be confused with anybody else called Freud. Quake has been involved historically in some pretty serious battles, some fights. We get a bit of page of backstory on Quake. I'm not sure what the purpose of this is. It's starting to become a little bit of a drag to have a lot of exposition and not much happening. But Quake was partly involved in the war against the threefold spark. So off goes a whole other train of thought for a page. And Prime says, no, we're keeping Quake as he is, and the other substantial failures in Freud's past will also stay where they are. So lots of hints and sort of mentions of other characters that are on the periphery, which either is intriguing or irritating. I'm starting to lean towards the latter. So Dr. Prime brainstorms Killer, and then there's this lovely, I'll gloss over a lot of this, but there's this lovely conversation between Ironhide and Pax. Sorry, I keep calling him Prime, that's just a bad habit. And Ironhide says, let's hope we're as lucky as those idiots, attacking Megatron with stuff that barely scratched him, even with the wind behind it. So I don't think that whoever set that bomb actually intended to kill Megatron. I think it was politically motivated, and I still suspect that it was Megatron who did it, or arranged it. And Pax says, yes, they were lucky. We'll see. Then we have this clip of Bumblebee racing around in his alt mode, in this kind of hovercraft vehicle, showing Rubble what he can do. And he says, what do you think? You're very good, you're fast. And Bumblebee, who's been hovering around, says, I'm no blur, but I've got some heat in my wheels. Except he isn't on wheels, so that's a bit of an oversight. It's, yeah, when you're looking and having to analyse the script as closely as we are to get anything out of it, it seems like a bit clumsy. Rubble's still looking at this moon, and he's also spotted this creature on the surface of Cybertron out in the distance. Again with the wide open spaces, again with the limited cast that's only slowly expanding. Considering this is meant to be kind of a hugely populated and diverse planet that's got so many robots actually living on it, the main image I'm still seeing and still remembering is the one from issue 1. I'll just do a quick recap back to issue 1. This wonderful image, lovely colours, imagery, all that wide open space, basically a desert with one robot on it. It's not really inspiring me with much confidence that there's a lot of people actually on this planet. I'd rather see more interaction, even with just bit characters. It was good to see with Pax and Prime walking through the city, but you still get this feeling that they're just going through vast spaces and meeting random aliens. I'd rather watch Megatron, to be quite honest, and as an Autobot fan that surprised me. So there they are, discussing and there's lots of talking and walking. Rubble's still trying to find an alt mode, looking at these various vehicles he could select. And Rubble really wants to go and see Wheeljack again, which is fair enough. In comes Windblade at speed, explains to Bumblebee he needs to go back to speak to Pax. He's been summoned to the Senate House, no idea, but it's urgent. So Windblade walks with Rubble, more walking and talking. I had my suspicions about Windblade, but I think she's genuinely a good character. She needs to be talking sense, talking truth. And they go back to Rubble's quarters through a city with robots in it. I was delighted to see this. All sorts of interesting characters. Nice chunky looking robots. This could be Cliff Jumper, Sunstreaker, whoever, Sideswipe maybe. Really good to see. And there's other character here with a breathing mask on, whatever. Interesting little touch just up here. I don't know how clear that is actually on the screen. But there's some graffiti. Kill the killer's death to... I'm not sure what that says, but there's a little graffiti cleaning kind of robot, either carving or cleaning, I'm not sure which. So there is civil unrest bubbling under the surface, and it's very, very subtle. When you're looking at the rest of the great pictures, the comics, the pages that we have here. Anyway, Windblade and Rubble go back to his quarters and meet Chromia and this new character. We met Freud, the therapist. We met Quake, who's a bit of a violent psychopath kind of character. We're now introduced to this character who reminded me of Bulkhead. It's actually called Geomotus. Sets up these shapes, likes to look at them. Comes across as a very, very pensive kind of character, possibly autistic or on the spectrum. Very logical, very clear, but very tense and wound up. And just to sum it up, Freud only lets us work with Geomotus if we minimise his interactions with Prowl. I could really see those two getting on each other's nerves. So interesting, but not actually relevant. We go through the usual pattern of the story with these comic books. We go through pages and pages of not much happening, as we've had for the last two. In the end of issue 1, we had the death of Brainstorm and his discovery. At the end of issue 2, we had the bomb that went off at Megatron's meeting. At the end of issue 3, totally out of the blue, Orion Pax walking through a desert or wilderness, pushing open the doors. These are the doors that we saw on the front cover. That's where it comes in. And then this totally out of the blue, Codexa, I need to talk to you. Something's going wrong. And I don't know, it seems like an unnecessary cliffhanger that's been set up from nowhere. Getting a little bit irritated with the lack of action. Megatron reduced to 2 pages at the start, introducing a few more of his troops that will eventually become Decepticons. So, yeah, I'm going to persist a little longer, but I'm not as happy with this as I thought I would be. Having to work a lot harder to get anything out of it. It's much more cerebral and slow. I will carry on. I will be here probably next week. I'm not sure what the publishing schedule is. It's been a bit erratic lately. But I'll be back to look at what Pax is doing with Codexa, how many more troops Megatron's going to recruit to his cause. Is Rubble Rumble? I said he wasn't. I'm not so sure now. What's Bumblebee doing? And are we going to see some more of the classic G1 Autobots? Otherwise, this one has been mostly misfits and madness. Madness keeps coming up, seeing some interesting non-conforming, non-typical robots. It's been kind of interesting, but not actually very fulfilling. Just to go through, next issue, Orion Pax on the march. There's Prowl, Chromia and Windblade, Megatron. Megatron sporting a fusion cannon. That's interesting. So far he's been unarmed. There's Starscream just next to him. I'm not sure how much of this you're seeing. Soundwave just there to Megatron's right. It's the cover, as we saw Orion. Then the alternative covers, Bumblebee talking to Windblade, Optimus and Megatron in the background. I wonderful, really appreciated this one. I don't know where this has come from. Starscream and Bumblebee fighting. Starscream sporting a pair of Decepticon insignias.